Trey Vittetoe here. Today I want to talk a little bit about what it takes to make the decision to come out here, what it's like when you get here, and just some of the pitfalls and difficulties of trying to get established. I want to take you on a little piece of the early part of my journey as I first moved here. When I graduated college, I didn't know what to do. I graduated with a degree in music, and the only clue that I had as to what to do next was I had a professor, and he talked a little bit about doing internships. And so I decided, I guess I'll go to Los Angeles and I'll get an internship. Now, I didn't know anything about an internship. I really didn't understand much other than you could kind of get your foot in the door. It didn't pay any money. The first thing I did when I knew it was coming out was I got a hold of some friends that were living up in Laurel Canyon. Pretty cool place. I came out about 2 weeks before I was supposed to move, and I just spent 1 week out here meeting with record labels. I met with Geffen, Arista, MCA. I don't even remember all of them I met with, just a bunch of them. I really expected it to be hard to get an internship. I met with several people that were super cool, but the one that I felt the greatest professionality of, if that's a word, was MCA. So I went back, I packed my stuff, and I came back out and went to work at MCA doing two different things. I was working a couple of days a week in their marketing department and a couple of days a week in some other department. All that I remember is that the lady who ran it scared everybody. One of the things I learned was that at the time, it was the people in the marketing department that decided what single would be released on an album. I was blown away by that. There was an artist that the record was coming out. One of the head guys there in the marketing department went into his office. He listened to the record for about, 45 minutes or so, and came back out and said, okay, the single's going to be, and everybody in the office, we all went, no way, that can't be the right one. And he just goes, yep, that's the one. Now, needless to say, that record didn't do well. Interns do things, they do the most menial things. You're doing anything you can just to get into business. The whole purpose of the internship is to get in the door, meet people. One day we were stuffing envelopes with CDs, sending them all around the country. Radio stations, fans, I don't remember. And the two guys that were working with me, I asked them, well, what did you study in school? And both of them had law degrees. I remember saying, really? You guys have law degrees? What are you doing here? And they said, we're just trying to get in. While I was doing my internship, the way that I survived was I had a credit card, and I don't remember how much money it had on it, but by the time I got to LA, it didn't have much. And I would live on that credit card. Then I would go take some cash off the credit card to pay the credit card bill, the minimum amount, and that's the way I lived for several months. Even now, when I drive around the part of town that I was living in, which was Laurel Canyon, down in the Sunset area, even now I feel a bit of a knot in my stomach. I just felt like I was sinking. I wasn't really confident about the decision I had made to come out here. The more I looked at the town and the scene, and I just thought, I'm not sure what to do with this. I couldn't find perspective in the situation. Anyway, I had some friends that introduced me to a friend that was working in publishing, and she was running the production department for a company called Rondor Music. I said, well, I'd love to come work a couple of days for you a week. She started me in tape copy. We would archive all the songs coming into the publishing company from the writers. We would make all the recordings that were being sent out by A&R people. I was very fortunate because she was trying to find the next person she was going to hire, and I got it. And that's where I started, working part-time at Rondor Music. Rondor was owned by Herb Alpert and Jerry Moss. They were A&M Records, Alpert Moss. Rondor had been the publishing arm of A&M Records, so that's where I landed in the 90s. When I got here, it was crazy. It was a weird scene on the streets of LA. It was kind of a grunge, post-grunge period. You walk down Hollywood Boulevard, Sunset, all these guys were dressed in flannel shirts, cut-off jeans, and Doc Martens. I mean, it was like the rock and roll uniform of the day. I mean, grunge pervaded every nuance, every corner of this town. You walk into clubs and it was just wall-to-wall grunge. It was loud, raucous, everything was cranked to 11. The first time I ever walked into a club in Los Angeles, one of the A&R guys at Rondor had asked me to go check out a band for him. The club, which has been shut down for years, was called Club Lingerie. And as I neared the front entrance of the club, this horrendous sound was coming out of the door. It was like some awful, squealing, strange noise. And the best way to describe this club would have been the same way I would describe many clubs around Hollywood, which was it looked like there had been a fire in the club, and they just left it that way. And as I went into the club and walked toward where the stage area was, there was a guy standing on stage with a microphone stand and a live microphone, and he was sawing the microphone stand with a handsaw. The band that I went to see that night, I still remember the name of the band, Manson Family Tree. When they went up to stage to play, the bass player kicked off his shoes and belched loudly and quite long. And I remember thinking, okay, I don't get what is happening here. But anyway, when I came to this town, I was about 6 months away from being overwhelmed, run down by student loans. I didn't know what I was going to do. And here I was working in a part-time job. I lived up on Coldwater Canyon in the valley. I had 3 other roommates, and it wasn't cheap living here. Just to give you an idea of my mindset at the time, I would go over to Taco Bell. I don't think that lunch at the time cost me more than $1 or $2. And I would literally walk out of that Taco Bell just feeling guilty spending that money because I thought, I don't have this money to spend. I will say this to anybody that's thinking about coming to LA, figure out what you want to do when you get here. Do you want to be a songwriter? Do you want to be a producer? Do you want to be an artist? And every day you have to remind yourself, this is the goal, this is the goal. Because the reason that so many people come to this town and don't stick it out is because it's just damn tough. And I don't know anybody that came here and had it easy. There are a lot of hard knock lessons that will come when you come to Los Angeles. It's just a given. You know, Katy Perry, she was in the studio all the time at Rondor. That's how I got to know her. Katy, right at the end, before she signed, she was about to leave. She was like, I don't have money to put gas in my car, and I don't even know if I'm going to have money to pay my rent this month. I mean, she was really in a desperate place. These were the months just prior to getting signed over at Capitol. I don't know how many times I've heard that story where somebody was literally 1 foot was already out the door when things fell into place. So if you want to come here and you want to make it, you better get your mind in the right place before you get here. And then you better get ready to stick it out under sometimes the most difficult circumstances, because it's tough. When I first got here, and I think I was still trying to find the right internship. I was driving down in the east part of Hollywood. It's a little scarier over there. I was kind of hungry, so I stopped at a McDonald's. I was about to walk in the door. There was a girl at the door that was, she looked messed up. Obviously, she was on something. Her whole face was caked with this thick foundation, except right around her mouth there was none, so it was kind of all white. As I walk up, she goes, hey, are you an actor? And I said, no. And she goes, are you a musician? I said, yeah. And she says, I got a song for you. And then she started singing the blues. She actually wasn't too bad. One of the things that I came to realize was that there was just a lot of sorrow on the streets. It's like a large outdoor insane asylum. You see things down Hollywood Boulevard that were just the tragedy of people's lives. It was pretty significant. All of that stuff was becoming part of me.